Good morning, Pacesetters. I'm honored to join you today as you gather in person or online to focus attention on youth empowerment and civic responsibility through Upsurge. Your generation has not had it easy. You've lived through Ebola scares and the COVID pandemic. Thousands of university students endured shutdowns due to strikes, while others in the North witnessed their secondary schools closed due to insecurity. Here's the good news. More than half of Nigeria's population is under 30. Nigeria's youth are driving the nation's tech success, creating thousands of jobs. Companies like Flutterwave, Paystack, Okra, Iroko, Mdesk Global, Lydia, and a whole host of others are meeting success and leading the much-needed economic diversification in Nigeria. In 2019, Nigeria had over 84 million registered voters. Young voters form a clear majority. More than half of the registered voters, 51%, aged between 18 and 35. These numbers and percentages are only growing. So I say, look to your left and look to your right and recognize the power rests with you. This is your time, the time for leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs to make their mark. You might be sitting there wondering to yourself, I'm just a student, and how am I going to find a job when I'm done? In the business world, companies often talk about conducting a needs assessment to see if a product would be desired by the public. Today, I want to encourage each of you to do a needs assessment of yourselves. What education and or training do you need to identify challenges around you and to solve them? Do you need to strengthen your personal finances management skills, practice team building, develop ideas to protect wildlife and the environment, grow an agribusiness idea, work with peers on a human rights issue? The United States wants to be there for you to serve as a partner, to exchange ideas with, to connect you with other like-minded, action-oriented peers, and to make training materials available to you. 11 years ago, the first African-American president, Barack Obama, launched a program, the Young African Leaders Network, to support young African leaders like you as you work to spur growth and prosperity, strengthen democratic governance, and enhance peace and security across the continent. I want to encourage each of you to join the YALI Network today. The YALI Network is an online community that provides virtual resources and vibrant physical spaces to equip young African leaders with the skills and connections they need to foster change in their communities and countries. We recognize that it takes bandwidth to complete online coursework, and we're proud to sponsor 26 American spaces in 22 Nigerian cities across the country, with more windows on the way to offer free computer access for this purpose and much more. Our American Spaces program discussions, screen films, and engage on themes which matter to you. I wanted to take a moment today to talk to you about youth and civic responsibility. It's a topic I rarely see discussed in the news or hear about on the radio here in Nigeria. I want to emphasize this because, judging on our American experience, I don't believe Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would be our president and vice president today if it weren't for the youth vote in America. Tufts University recently published that half of eligible young voters voted in 2020. They estimated that 50% of young people aged 18 to 29 voted in that important presidential election. It was a remarkable 11% increase from 2016, and likely one of the highest rates of youth electoral participation since the voting age was lowered to 18 in the United States. Their analysis of youth voter turnout nationwide finds wide variation between states and underscores the importance of electoral laws and policies that help grow voters. All over America, teens get involved in political efforts without even being old enough to vote. Why, you may ask? Because they understand that they are part of the next generation of leadership. Growing political participation among youth appears to be the new norm in the U.S. The presidential elections of 2004, 8, and 12 saw participation rates around 50% of voters at this rate. compared to 37% in earlier times in the 90s. Brookings recently published that Americans' participation in life is essential to sustaining our democratic form of government. Without it, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people will not last. We believe youth engagement and civic engagement to be every bit as important in Nigeria as it is in the United States. Today from the U.S., one hears lots of discussions about state requirements for voting, but that gets me to my second point. The benefits of democracy lay in the journey, not the destination. As Ambassador Leonard noted in her July 4th National Day message, the United States has always been a forward-leaning nation, one still striving toward a more perfect union. Through unity, we are best able to confront the challenges that we share. We believe the same to be true for Nigeria as well. Conversations to address misperceptions and grievances are important in democracies, including to address questions around equality of access to opportunity and resources. Back in April, Secretary Blinken engaged some of our alumni from the Young African Leaders Initiative and made 3 key observations I'd like to share with you today. The first is that the communities hit hardest by the pandemic are those that were already underserved and marginalized. That's true here and in America. The second point is that the best way to prepare communities for massive challenges like the pandemic is building resilience, expanding opportunity, strengthening local voices of rising leaders before the crisis strikes, and by ensuring that innovations in technology and other vital tools meet the needs of these same communities, not just the well-off, nor the well-connected. Youth need to be at the forefront of fighting global challenges, whether in fighting COVID-19, meeting the climate crisis, building a sustainable and inclusive global economy, or dealing with any of the other challenges we face today. We are all in this together. So the need for Nigeria's leaders has never been so urgent. Because what we're seeing, and that's what makes it difficult these days, if you look at progress over the past 15 or 20 years, there is clearly progress in terms of security, opportunity, and even tolerance. Secretary Blinken noted that those of your generation are much more tolerant than his generation or mine. So you need to speak out to say what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And in a democracy, we need to listen to you and each other, on the radio, online, or in person. Just be you. In some parts of the world, we're seeing a democratic withdrawal, so to speak, including in the most democratic ones. And it's very clear that there is a lack of confidence sometimes in democracy itself. The answer to that is to show that democracies can deliver for their citizens and for the citizens around the world outside of those countries. So that is the challenge of our time, to show that democracies can act, and act in such a way as to improve the living conditions of our citizens. If we do this and we yield results, and if the large majority of our citizens can see progress, and if their governments can take into account their wants and needs, I believe that we will see a new wave of support for the democratic system. However, if this does not happen, the crisis that is ongoing and lack of confidence at the moment runs the risk of getting worse. We will be more efficient in terms of yielding results if we work jointly, if countries work together, and if we cooperate within countries also. Government alone is not enough. We must find ways to work together, from actors from civil society with private sector, from the non-governmental organizations to media, and so on. Those of us who work within government have an obligation to broaden the way we work. It is not enough to work amongst ourselves or with other governments. We need to focus on other ways and means and to make sure that others are heard and take part in the creation of our approaches. If we succeed, I think we will see a new impetus for democracy. So you see, it is very important that you all took time out of your schedules today to join this Upsurge Summit. I hope you met new students and professionals alike who are just as passionate about bringing change and to being a part of the progress that you want to see in your communities. As a wise mentor once shared with me, there's always support for a good idea. I believe that to be true today, just as it was 10 years ago. I wish you every success. Be positive and support each other. Thank you for the honor of speaking with you today.